Yeah. Oh shit, we here. Crazy. Stadium. Play some Battlefield real quick. This map ain't gonna play. This shit broke. Apparently Stadium on Rush ain't working. I just downloaded a new patch too. It's crazy. Damn. That shit definitely didn't work. Alright, let me take a look at my shit then. Got some rewards from another game or something. Damn. Let's try Rush one more time. This one must be broke too. Maybe I need to restart the game or something. We'll see. I got 2 people in the lobby. might be alright. Yeah. Hey. Alright, hold on. Alright, about to say. This shit broke. Apparently, Battlefield is broken. Nobody's playing Rush. BBL Jersey. Alright, looks like we about to play now. Finally got in a match. Let's see what it do. Oh shit, hold on, let me turn this shit down. Turn this shit down.
Alpha sector is now under hostile control.
We're being pushed back on all fronts. Hostiles control more sectors.
Spotted a hostile! 200 meters! Hostile mark!
Contact! American forces spotted.
Strong start. Advance
New
just
plan.
to save. Hostiles have taken Bravo sector.
Hostile located! Around 90 meters from my position! Taking fire!
Control Charlie sector.
Our enemy has been pushed back on all fronts.
Fuck, I knew it was around there somewhere. Oh, you can't move your camera now? That's crazy. I mean, you can move it now. Oh, okay. It takes a second after.
Somebody, help!
Fucking dead.
Помогите мне, пожалуйста!
I wanted a motherfucker.
Помогите!
God damn it, gotta reload! Hostile presence! Sighted a fire team!
Turn around. You've left the engagement.
I'm down! Woo!
Check your men. Return to the fight.
They're drawing on reinforcements. It's progress. Status. Everything's going as planned. Securing objectives.
Угроза в этой зоне! Grenade for him! Placing an explosive! I'm reloading! Got one!
Запрашиваю медицинскую помощь.
Grenade! Reloading! Hostile!
Commander's watching. Our soldiers have secured Bravo sector. Almost all sectors are under our control.
Отлично! Боец ранен! Нужна помощь!
Damn. Motherfucker jumped down perfect time. That's crazy. Are you gonna pick me up? Alright.
You're moving up. Turn around. Hostile forces at 50%.
У нас -1, нужна эвакуация.
Loading!
Fuck! Somebody was on my left. That's crazy. Oh, I got revived again. I'm about to get killed again. Still on the ground. I guess that was an okay revive, but I wouldn't have did it. That's crazy.
Hostile mark, 130 meters. Gotcha.
One of our objectives is under attack.
Tango down. Reloading, watch my back.
Left the main force. Turn around.
Rifles out.
Damn! I almost got up there. That's crazy. Almost got up there.
Alpha sector secure. We have every sector, but the American forces will look for a weakness.
Alright, here we go. Let's try this shit again. Alright, here we go. Had to put the limiter on real quick, my bad.
We are in control of nearly all sectors. Our enemy is
I got hit by a crazy ass grenade.
I'm not gonna last.
Holy shit, I ran right into grenades. Damn, what was he at? He was like on the steps. That's crazy. Man.
Somebody help me, Dan! I need help.
Echo sector has been lost to the enemy.
Look like we gonna win this one now. Damn, I probably could have got revived right there. They're already taking it back.
They are desperate. We have full control of Echo Sector.
Start running! Go!
Can't see shit from right here. Holy shit. That's crazy. I ain't kill that motherfucker. Can't see shit in there.
They're abandoning the fight. We've won this.
We got one. Got one win real quick. Start off the day. Let me see, hold on. I got a bunch of new shit. Yeah. Oh, this all my new shit. I got me a CZ real quick. Shout out to CZ. You dig? Hey, motherfucker got trees on his shit. BBL Drizzy. They got Jay-Z looking crazy.
Deployment and mounted assault. We need results and we need them fast.
Uh-oh, let's start this shit up. I gotta get out the route.
Marking
They are
danger.
attacking Bravo 1.
In full control of Sector Charlie.
One down. Well,
We have taken more sectors than they have. Make sure we don't lose our advantage.
Tango down. Throwing grenade.
Damn! Almost snuck up there on them motherfuckers.
Taking
That shit
Sector
crazy.
Got to start securing sectors. Enemy has majority control.
Fuck. Had 3 kills real quick, but couldn't do nothing else with the shit. Oh, I know what we need to do. We need to go see.
Move to secure that objective.
Careful out there.
Marking a hostile. Around 90 meters from my position.
Damn! I didn't see that motherfucker until it was too late.
Stay away! Oh, help!
We definitely got to get C. If we can't get C, we finna lose.
Enemy neutralized.
How many was in there? At least 3.
I need help over here. Medic!
Maybe I should pick a different class, but I like this class, so. We getting cooked, though.
Move to secure that objective.
We'll monitor it from here.
Attack that objective.
The enemy just conquered Sector Bravo. Allied troops targeting Bravo 1.
What the fuck was that coming from? Damn! That motherfucker got me from the top row, bro. That shit crazy. Motherfucker blipped me from the top.
Resources, but we may be soon.
Danger near me. Do not try to resist.
Status report.
Timetable's off. We need to secure more territory.
Damn! I'm on the move and shit. Oh shit. Got his motherfucking ass. Crazy.
Russians are attacking one of our objectives.
There's a fucking drone above me.
Tango spotted! Southeast!
Fuck. These motherfuckers is all over the place.
Throwing grenade!
Fuck is he at? Wow. Fucking made me not shoot the second time. I think I probably could have got him. Fuck, I gotta switch back.
The hostiles just secured Sector Alpha.
Hate using marksman rifles.
We've lost every sector,
hit
but
shit.
this isn't over.
Nigga said we lost every sector. Sheesh. Motherfuckers got us pinned down.
Target's ready!
Hostiles attacking objective Charlie 1. Watch yourself, troops. Resources at 50%.
Damn, I should have let him pass me up, too. That's crazy. I got behind him.
I need help.
All these motherfuckers just chilling back there. I was at D. That's crazy. These motherfuckers so far back.
I've marked some supplies.
Damn. Who fucking found me? Oh shit. What is he? Oh, he's running around with a melee. I was like, what the hell is he doing? Oh, he got a shotgun and a melee. I'm about to say, what the fuck is he doing? Yeah, we stuck. Ain't no way we can even get over there.
Never mind. Hostile located. 90 meters away from my position.
Hostile on the move.
Holy shit, bro. I know I got hit by that sniper too, cause there ain't no way. Ain't no way. I could have swore I had motherfuckers behind me. They must have been CPUs. Damn. Well, that's probably what happened with the motherfuckers behind me. I'm finna try that shit again. Fuck it.
Get hiking, go! Disregard that order.
Where the fuck is that dude shooting from? Oh, he's over here. Holy shit. He's a fucking PC player, definitely. Motherfucker moving fast like it's Call of Duty or something. Fuck is he at? They got the fucking shit. They don't have to move when we got CPUs. They popping over here though.
Forces are moving to attack Alpha 1.
He still has a warlord again. Or warblood. Fucking. I knew it was him too. I seen his name barely. That's crazy. Oh well. I thought I got his motherfucking ass though.
Not much left to fight with.
Oh, I
One
need
last
help here.
push.
Please.
We couldn't take no spots. They cooked our shit so fast.
All sectors lost. We have to turn this around now.
Nothing we can do about it now. Holy shit, they popped out. Ain't nobody gonna get him. Look at his movement. I'm about to say somebody finally got him. Damn, we got
All
cooked that
sectors
round.
retreat. Battle's
Defeated.
lost. We don't need any more losses today.
Get to that shit in a second. Man, that shit's crazy. 2 rounds. Got some more shit though. That look nice. I skipped over a gun.
Ready for orders.
That shit started so fast. I was finna see a rush work.
Good to see you again, Notepads. I hope you're ready for an all-out assault. This operation's objectives are marked on your map. Clear out any Eastern resistance on site.
Or no.
Looks
Let's
like
see
the
if
weight's over.
rush works this time. alien or something. Oh, rush still don't work. He believe in this shit. Let's try breakthrough. Alright, look like breakthrough working.
We are contracting you to push them back and re-establish a hard border. Fight well, nomads. Protect your objectives and hold your ground as long as possible. They will try to push us back sector by sector. We need to hurt them until they leave.
Alright, let's see what goes on. Fucking tree.
Tango, northwest.
As soon as I turn my head, nigga blip me. I'm dead. Shit crazy. That shit crazy, bro. I thought we had him. Wow. What? Motherfucker slipped my shit, boy. Can't believe this shit. I'm trying to be too much of a scout and shit.
Let's get going.
Check your men. Return to the fight.
Союзники ранены!
Oh, come on. Wow, that boy had aim, boy. That shit crazy.
Outgoing.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, shit. I got blown up straight into a grenade, straight into a hill, bro.
Man down, they're hurt bad.
Oh, shit. Oh, I come here, bro.
I'll get you moving. Hold on.
They fucking me over. Okay. Holy shit. What? Oh, he was right there. I thought I seen a motherfuckers chilling in the bushes. said, I swear I thought I saw a motherfucker in the bushes. God damn, why he running straight at me? Come on, bro. Oh shit, I saw him.
You've left the engagement.
Damn. I know he mad. It looked like I hit him through the dirt. I'm definitely getting revived. Whoa. I just said I can't see shit, my nigga.
Enemy is assaulting Alpha 1.
God damn, they shooting from far now. God damn. Yeah, I'm about to say. That's crazy. Oh. I knew somebody was gonna see me. It was worth it though. The crossfire is crazy right now.
Objective is under siege.
Placing an explosive.
That is amazing.
Alpha 1 is under attack.
Tango mark. West.
Ah. Got his ass. I got shot in the air. I tried to make the jump back over. I was behind enemy lines. Oh shit. Holy shit. Oh fuck.
Outgoing! Fuckers on the loose! West! Tango down!
Definitely. Damn. Oh. He had me locked for a while. I'm sure he had me locked for a while, definitely. Damn. I got revived though.
I need a reload!
Shoot for keeping the Americans away.
Cover me!
Oh. He's still there too, that's crazy. I was like, is he still there? He chilling too.
I need help!
Pretty sure they got him by now.
Mission accomplished! Hostile presence! Northwest! Tango mark! That's a hostile! Southwest! Reloading!
So they're over there now. Damn. Oh, I'm about to say. God damn. Damn. Oh, they sneaking around the back. Oh, somebody saw him before me. Damn.
Mission accomplished.
They couldn't get us that time. man. Man, we played the motherfucking stadium again. I don't care.
Drop in on our target and be prepared for anything.
Where did that come from? I knew I should have just kept peppering. I should have kept pepper. I should have just kept seasoning. I should have just kept peppering, man. Oh, I'm back. Reload. Damn, I popped up too soon. I had it. I was right there where I wanted to be too. Wow. Somebody's got to revive me. Yeah, I'm about to say. Hit me, bro. He's hacking. Dude is definitely hacking. Oh.
I need help here.
I only got 3 kills, bro.
They're making us pay every minute we're
Oh my. Nobody can put any bullets down range but me. And I'm getting kicked. I'm getting cooked right now for sure. My whole team, we can't even get, oh. We should just get straight up in there though. Got chopped down. I made a quick left. Fuck that.
Need a second to reload.
God damn, they all over the place. Them niggas know the map good. Damn. Holy shit. This dude didn't get blown up by none of the C4 either. That's crazy. We can't get this spot at all.
You're down to 50% strength.
Enemy soldier marked. 60 meters away from my position. Tango spotted. One of ours is down. Explosive rest.
Alpha 1 is underway.
Couldn't reload quick enough. My team is getting smacked. Dude got 39 kills. Sheesh.
We've initiated an attack on Alpha 1.
Them motherfuckers just sniping. I was just walking to the left. Sniping like crazy. Motherfuckers sweating. Oh shit. Shit like crazy paintball.
Our forces are moving to attack Alpha 1.
Of course there's a guy right laying down on the ground. Fucking prone. Of course there's a guy prone on the ground, ready to shoot me as soon as I get fucking revived, huh?
Now on target.
Telling you, who the hell is that guy? We can't tap shit. He said he ain't gonna lie. I got a medic over there to my right. He just chilling now. I was about to say, where the hell did he come from? I think I killed us all. But I think the dude with the shield, I think I killed the dude with the shield. Maybe I didn't run away far enough. Hey, 60 meters away, shot by a sniper. Damn. Holy shit. Where the heck did he come from? Out of the darkness. Damn. Dude I was finna spawn on immediately got killed. Holy shit.
Need to reload! They're shooting! I'm reloading!
Wow. I don't know how dude shot me, but that's some computer shit though. 30 meters, he must have shot me and jumped backwards or something. So what angle did he have to hit me like that? Got his ass back though. Oh,
Their defenses are too strong. All troops evacuate.
that was crazy. We couldn't even get through the front door. I had 14 kills. I could only get in like the 11th place though. That's crazy.
Looks like the wait's over.
See what this shit is all about real quick.
Welcome. This video dives into the fraudulent nature of our history. One must question everything we've been taught about our past. Is history truly an exact science? Or is it a fantasy woven
Hell
by
no.
those in power? We aim to present this information and uncover further connections to create a captivating exploration into the realm of our mysterious past. This video isn't meant to be conclusive, but rather a tool to assist in questioning the established mainstream narrative.
Question
With
everything,
that,
right?
let's begin.
Let's give him hell.
We're looking to turn the tides on the Eastern Defense today. Your reinforcements are our secret weapon. Drop in on our target and be prepared for...
What is history? Do we really know our history? Growing up, we're led to believe that history is an exact, absolute science of the past. From ancient Sumeria, Egypt, Greece, and Rome, to the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Academic textbooks, museums, insider archaeology, and Hollywood have created the current aesthetic of history that we're all familiar with. They will have us believe that we know everything about human history. But how do we know this is the case? Because these so-called experts say so? How can we be so sure that this supposed science of history is accurate? It is only when we review history from that standpoint that we will begin finding many plot holes and inconsistencies in the narratives that we're told. In order to build upon this, we must first discuss the nature of history and chronology itself. Many who have come with automatic emotional reactions to this question are operating from the default programming that we've been given. It may be good to address the crowd who believes that Jesus never existed, or that the Jesus figure is solely a representation of an astrological event or even cataclysm. These are all fair considerations that will be addressed as we proceed. So, did Jesus speak Arabic? Many may find that a ridiculous statement. Some may feel fairly certain that the language of Jesus was Aramaic, as this is what the scholars have told us. However, there are many things to be considered. What really is Aramaic? Did the events of the Bible really take place in the time that is presented to us? Who were the real Romans? And why was history erased and rewritten?
Crazy.
Many people believe Jesus was born in Bethlehem around the year 3 CE, or the year 0 CE, or before Common Era. But what if I told you this Common Era doesn't span over the course of 2,000 years, but in fact began only 1,000 years ago, and that Jesus was on Earth during the Dark Ages, the time in which the New and Old Testament of the Bible were being written in the new languages that were forced upon an Arabic-speaking European populace. Sounds crazy, right?
Right?
If Jesus really did exist 2,000 years ago, then why did Renaissance painters decide to paint biblical figures within their own time period? Once or twice, you could say it's just a coincidence. However, we can find hundreds of examples that truly seem odd, for obvious reasons, like how the biblical subjects from these paintings were painted within scenes depicting Renaissance-style architecture, and also wearing garments indicative of a time period 1,000 years after they were alive. Was it really just up to the artist's imagination? How could these painters, who were known for being historically accurate, somehow consistently mess up on these details? According to historians, this is called a medieval anachronism. They will have us believe that in the Middle Ages, ancient history and past epochs were simply mixed up, and that the artists were just ignorant.
What?
However, this
That's
is
crazy.
not limited to
That don't
just
make no sense.
paintings. It can also be found in literature. As with Petrarch, who challenged historical narratives through his critical examination of documents, indicating a deep-seated anachronism within medieval literature as well. He highlighted that the privileges supposedly granted by Nero Caesar to the House of Austrian dukes in the 13th century were indeed falsifications. In the modern accepted timeline, the Habsburgs and Caesar are separated by 1,000 years. Why wasn't this obvious to Petrarch, who was one of the most intelligent minds of the Renaissance?
The enemy is approaching.
The modern historian finds it absurd to consider supposed ancient figures like Caesar as contemporaries of medieval entities such as the Austrian dukes, who began their rule approximately 1200 years after these Roman figures. Yet, this conflation of timelines was a topic of serious debate during Petrarch's era, revealing a broader tendency to mix distant epochs with events that were unfolding only a few hundred years ago, and even during the times in which the new timelines were being scripted. The recurrence of such anachronisms suggests that medieval narratives often placed ancient events within much later timelines, a pattern also observable in German medieval chronicles. This phenomenon extended even to the popular conception of gladiator fights, commonly associated exclusively with ancient Rome. Contrary to popular belief, such combats were not relics of the past, but persisted into the medieval period, with documented instances like the gladiator fights in Naples around 1344 AD, attended by notable figures such as Johanna of Naples and Andrew of Hungary. These events, eerily mirroring ancient traditions, ended in fatalities just as they had in ancient times. If this is the case, perhaps there is more to these biblical paintings. For example, the painting by Christoph Schwarz, Christ on the Way to the Calvary, painted in 1580. Online you can only find edited versions of the painting, but the original in the Museum of Uppsala University, you can see that the original had interesting features. Christ is depicted in a strange manner, and we see that the riders are wearing turbans, and the flagpoles are crowned with crescents. Also, the soldiers have shields on their back. One of them has a crescent moon on them, and the other has an Orthodox cross. The question is, why was this painting edited?
Package available.
If it's just an anachronism or imagination, there would be no reason to edit the painting. However, someone felt the flagpole and shields needed to be changed, and in turn, erasing the Arabic influence that the painting originally depicted. Here's
That
the
sucks.
altered painting with the crescents removed in the new flagpole. This is what it looked like in the original. There are many anomalies within these Renaissance paintings, and this is only the surface. Another strange occurrence is with the Three King paintings. There are several examples of the three kings arriving to visit Christ, and one of the flags is a crescent. Is this referring to Islam?
Holy shit.
But how could that be possible?
Damn.
In this one from 1460, there are also medieval castle-like buildings in the background and medieval ships. Now some may argue that a crescent alone is not really that suspicious. Perhaps it's just some type of heraldry or artistic liberty. However, there are more. For example, in the Cologne Cathedral altarpiece from around the 1500s, we see the flag again, except this time, it is clearly referencing Islam. Is this just a mistake? Here's another from 1423, painted by Gentile da Fabriano. This is one of the greatest masterpieces of all time. We can see a large group of people have come to see this event,
And reloaded
and
too
on one
early.
of the horses is a golden crescent moon. But that's not all. The Virgin's halo has Arabic writing on it. What is that doing there? We will cover this further in a later section. Here's another painting from the 16th century by an unknown painter.
Hold on. I'll be right back. Give me like a couple of seconds, alright? Be right back. Damn, somebody killed me.
Yet, this conflation of timelines was a topic of serious debate during Petrarch's era,
Alright, here we go.
revealing a broader tendency to mix distant epochs with events that were unfolding only a few hundred years ago, and even during the times in which the new timelines were being scripted. The recurrence of such anachronisms suggests that medieval narratives often placed ancient events within much later timelines, a pattern also observable in German medieval chronicles. This phenomenon extended even to the popular conception of gladiator fights, commonly associated exclusively with ancient Rome. Contrary to popular belief, such combats were not relics of the past, but persisted into the medieval period, with documented instances like the gladiator fights in Naples around 1344 AD, attended by notable figures such as Johanna of Naples and Andrew of Hungary.
Our final
These
objectives are
events,
under enemy
clearly
attack.
mirroring ancient traditions,
Enemy forces have set
ended in
explosive
fatalities
charges.
just as they had in ancient times. If this is the case, perhaps there is more to these biblical paintings. For example, a painting by Christoph Schwarz, Christ on the Way to the Calvary, painted in 1580. Online you can only find edited versions of the painting, but the original in the Museum of Uppsala University, you can see that the original had interesting features. Christ is depicted in a strange manner, and we see that the riders are wearing turbans, and the flagpoles are crowned with crescents. Also, the soldiers have shields on their back. One of them has a crescent moon on them, and the other has an Orthodox cross. The question is,
Got out 3 of them.
why was this painting edited? If it's just an anachronism or imagination, there would be no reason to edit the painting. However, someone felt the flagpole and shields needed to be changed, and in turn, erasing the Arabic influence that the painting originally depicted. Here's the altered painting with the crescents removed in the new flagpole. This is what it looked like in the original. There are many anomalies within these Renaissance paintings, and this is only the surface.
Always the way I don't turn.
Another
That's
strange
crazy.
occurrence is with the Three King paintings. There are several examples of the three kings arriving to visit Christ, and one of the flags is a crescent. Is this referring to Islam? But how could that be possible? In this one from 1460, there are also medieval castle-like buildings in the background and medieval ships. Now some may
Like,
argue that
how
a
is that
crescent alone is
possible?
not really that suspicious. Perhaps it's just some type of heraldry or artistic liberty. However, there are more. For example, in the Cologne Cathedral altarpiece from around the 1500s, we see the flag again, except this time, it is clearly referencing Islam. Is this just a mistake? Here's another from 1423, painted by Gentile da Fabriano. This is one of the greatest masterpieces of all time. We can see a large group of people have come to see this event, and on one of the horses is a golden crescent moon. But that's not all. The Virgin's halo has Arabic writing on it. What is that doing there?
Alright.
We will cover this further in a later section. Here's another painting from the 16th century by an unknown painter. Apparently, in the middle of the 14th century, they just made up coat of
Unknown
arms for the
painter.
Magi. But why would they need to do this if the Magi existed in biblical times 1300 years prior? What if these weren't made up by an artist, or rather, an accurate depiction of the coat of arms for the Magi that were existing during the time of Christ's true birth in the Dark Ages? It's not just the three Magi. This is an engraving from the 15th century Florentine Chronicle. We see the biblical Joshua, who lived long before the birth of Christ, depicted as a typical medieval knight. The city is supposed to be Jericho, which Joshua is assuring. We can see that there are Christian crosses visible, with some questionable architecture.
He said questionable architecture.
Then there are the Annunciation paintings, almost all of which depict the Virgin in a medieval environment, reading from a book that should not have existed during her lifetime. There is a Bible from the Gutenberg Museum that showcases an Old Testament army with cannons. It would seem that the medieval artists were not aware that these weapons were not supposed to exist during those times.
Funny. Ain't supposed to
It
have
would
no
seem that
cannons.
these artists believed that Jesus existed during the medieval ages. Here's an interesting painting that shows a rifle next to Christ. And there are countless amounts
That's
of these
updated.
paintings that show biblical figures in medieval armor and
Temporary.
clothing. Are we to believe these are all due to ignorance? So when was the birth of Christ? Mainstream history will have us believe it was 2,000 years ago.
Right?
Let's also keep in mind that Jesus marks when the timeline was reset. Anything before is before Christ. But the question is, why does this event signify a new historical timeline? It wasn't until the 16th century that we began to get a continuous chronology. Most of the time, people could only date events a few centuries prior. One of the first to lay the foundations of chronology was Eusebius Pamphilus during the 4th century AD. However,
This channel
there
is
are many
good. What is it called? Mind Unveiled. Yeah, this channel good. Y'all check it out.
ships. Now, some may argue that a crescent
Mind
alone is
unveiled.
not really that suspicious. Perhaps it's just some type of heraldry or artistic liberty. However, there are more. For example, in the Cologne Cathedral altarpiece from around the 1500s, we see the flag again, except this time, it is clearly referencing Islam. Is this just a mistake? Here's another from 1423, painted by Gentile da Fabriano. This is one of the greatest masterpieces of all time.
That shit
You can see
fire.
a large group of people have come to see this event, and on one of the horses is a golden crescent moon. But that's not all. The Virgin's halo has Arabic writing on it. What is that doing there? We will cover this further in a later
Right? That's a
section.
good question.
Here's another painting from the 16th century by an unknown painter. Apparently, in the middle of the 14th century, they just made up coat of arms for the Magi. But why would they need to do this if the Magi existed in biblical times 1300 years prior?
Yeah,
What if
that's another
these weren't
good
made
question.
up by an artist, or rather, an accurate depiction of the coat of arms for the Magi that were existing during the time of Christ's true birth in the Dark Ages? It's not just the three Magi. This is an engraving from the 15th century Florentine Chronicle.
Oh,
You see the biblical Joshua, who lived long before the birth of Christ, depicted as a typical medieval knight. The city is supposed to be Jericho, which Joshua is assuring. We can see that there are
okay. I was
Christian
about to say,
crosses
where the
visible,
fuck did I get
with some
shot from?
questionable architecture. Then there are the Annunciation paintings, almost all of which depict the Virgin in a
Annunciation
medieval environment,
paintings.
reading from a book that should not have existed during her lifetime. There is a Bible from the Gutenberg Museum that showcases an Old Testament army with cannons. It would seem that the medieval artists were not aware that these weapons were not supposed to exist during those times. It would seem that these artists believed that Jesus existed during the medieval ages. Here's an interesting painting that shows a rifle next to Christ.
They got a
And there are
blicky next
countless
to
amounts of these
Christ.
paintings that show biblical figures in medieval armor and clothing. Are we to believe these are all due to ignorance? So when was the birth of Christ? Mainstream history will have us believe it was 2,000 years ago. Let's also keep in mind that Jesus marks when the timeline was reset. Anything before is before Christ. But the question is, why does this event signify a new historical timeline? It wasn't until the 16th century that we began to get a continuous chronology. Most of the time, people could only date events a few centuries prior. One of the first to lay the foundations of chronology was Eusebius Pamphilus during the 4th century AD. However, there are many issues with the dates, and the originals only exist in fragments. Everything else comes from St. Jerome in Latin. It wasn't until the 16th to 17th century that we got our modern timeline from the works of Joseph Scaliger and the Jesuit Dionysius Petavius. This is where we get our mainstream history. Questioning the Scaligerian chronology is also not a recent phenomenon.
I was just about to do the same thing.
Doubts about the traditional historical timeline date back centuries, as several prominent scholars and thinkers have long voiced concerns over its accuracy. Notable skeptics include the Salamanca University professor de
Salamanca.
Arcilla, who argued in his works that the history of the classical age was actually concocted during the medieval period. Similarly, Jesuit historian John Ardouin believed that much of the classical literature that we know today was produced in monasteries in the 16th century. German scholar Robert Baldauf, through rigorous philological analysis, posited that not just ancient history, but the history of the early Middle Ages too, was largely a Renaissance fabrication. In the English-speaking world, Edwin Johnson critically evaluated the Scaligerian chronology, suggesting that historical events such as the Argonauts' voyage occurred much closer to our time than traditionally believed. Even Sir Isaac Newton, the eminent scientist, also embarked on a significant revision of ancient chronologies. He argued that the events of ancient Greece and Egypt happened much later than recorded, proposing that the timeline should be shortened by hundreds, if not thousands of years. Thus, the critique of Scaliger's chronology has deep historical roots, involving a diverse array of scholars who have variously challenged the authenticity and accuracy of our accepted historical timeline.
Basically saying
The Scaligerian timeline was created based on numerical information collected from the Bible and astronomical calculations. During the 16th century, the creation of the world was also used as a starting point for dating of events. However, one miscalculation would mean errors consisting of hundreds or thousands of years. There are many different variations on the date of the creation of the world, and had been the subject of debate for centuries. There were up to 20 different variations of this exact date of the creation of the world, with a range of up to 3,000 years. All other events in history were counted based on this date,
right?
which if the date were wrong, would displace all the other events on the timeline by a significant amount. Some are hesitant to embrace that Jesus of Nazareth walked the earth, opting instead to view him as a metaphor for celestial phenomena or cataclysmic events. Yet this perspective overlooks a crucial aspect of historical integrity. By questioning the existence of Christ, one inadvertently challenges the very fabric of our mainstream historical narrative. Consider the
Basically,
testimony of several
I don't think people understand what he's even trying to say right now, but we'll let him carry on.
was created based on numerical information collected from the Bible and astronomical calculations. During the 16th century, the creation of the world was also used as a starting point for dating of events. However, one miscalculation would mean errors consisting of hundreds or thousands of years. There are many different variations on the date of the creation of the world, and had been the subject of debate for centuries. There were up to 20 different variations of this exact date of the creation of the world, with a range of up to 3,000 years. All other events in history were counted based on this date, which if the date were wrong, would displace all the other events on the timeline by a significant amount. Some are hesitant to embrace that Jesus of Nazareth walked the earth, opting instead to view him as a metaphor for celestial phenomena or cataclysmic events. Yet this perspective overlooks
Damn,
a
I'm about to
crucial
get killed.
aspect of historical integrity.
Fucking chain gun.
By questioning the existence of Christ, one inadvertently challenges the very fabric of our mainstream historical narrative. Consider the testimony of several pivotal figures from antiquity, whose accounts validate the life and impact of Jesus. Take for instance Tacitus, one of Rome's greatest historians. In his seminal work, Annals, he chronicles the execution of Christ under Pontius Pilate during the reign of Emperor Tiberius. Tacitus's reliability and detailed approach to historical documentation lend substantial credibility to his accounts, positioning them as foundational text in Roman historiography. Further corroborative evidence comes from Flavius Josephus, a Jewish historian who penned
Josephus!
Antiquities of the Jews. Despite his Jewish heritage and non-Christian biases, Josephus mentions Jesus in a manner that supports the New Testament narratives, referring to him as a wise man and a doer of wonderful works. His writings serve as a critical non-Christian source that acknowledges Jesus' existence.
Damn.
Moreover, Pliny the Younger, a Roman governor, provides a bureaucratic glimpse into how early Christians revered Christ. In his letters to Emperor
Damn.
Trajan, he discusses the treatment of Christians, noting their worship of Christ as a deity. Even the Talmud contains passages that some scholars believe refer to Jesus,
Shout out to the
offering a
Talmud.
perspective from a distinctly different cultural and religious context. Suetonius, another esteemed Roman historian, touches upon the early Christian disturbances in Rome, instigated by one Christus. Some scholars interpret this as a reference to Christ, which aligns with biblical accounts of early Christian evangelism under hostile conditions. Lastly, Lucian of Samosata, a Syrian satirist, mentions Christians and their worship of a crucified leader. His satirical work indirectly attests to the profound impact Jesus had on his followers, shaping their beliefs and practices. These historical testimonies, spanning various genres and originating from authors with diverse backgrounds, collectively suggest the existence of Jesus. Now, that's not to say that these authors are telling the truth or that they even existed. However, to dismiss Jesus as a non-historical figure is to undermine the credibility of numerous historical documents and the very scholars who penned them. It suggests a conspiracy of silence and falsehoods that transcends cultures and centuries. For those who consider history a reliable witness to the human past, the denial of Christ's existence is not merely a rejection of religious doctrine, but also a dismissal of the historical method itself.
Right?
Thus, if you're an agnostic who denies the historical existence of Jesus, you must also question the integrity of the mainstream historical timeline we have been entrusted with. For the purposes of our discussion, let's proceed under the assumption that Jesus indeed existed. However, we remain open to the interpretation that he might also symbolize a transformative reset event in history. Now, accepting his existence, during which historical era did Jesus live? Well, as noted, the medieval artists seem to believe that he was a contemporary, but is there any more evidence to support this? In the case of the Shroud of Turin, widely revered as one of Christianity's most sacred relics, traditionally believed to bear the imprint of Christ's crucified body, the shroud supposedly dates back to the 1st century AD. However, a pivotal study conducted in 1988 yielded startling results, suggesting a medieval origin. 3 prominent laboratories, Oxford University, Arizona University, and the Swiss Technological Institute in Zurich, undertook radiocarbon dating of the shroud, and their findings indicated that the linen fabric was produced between the 11th and 13th centuries. This revelation has stirred significant debate, leaving us with 3 potential conclusions. 1. The Shroud of Turin might be a medieval forgery. 2. The radiocarbon dating could be flawed, containing errors of several centuries. And 3. If the shroud is authentic, it may indeed be from the medieval period, prompting questions about the exact timeline of Christ's life. The implications of these findings extend beyond the shroud itself, spotlighting broader doubts about the reliability of radiocarbon dating when applied to historical artifacts. However, there is a compelling legend from the East, known as the Image of Edessa, that may lend more credibility to the authenticity of the shroud. According to this story, the image was miraculously imprinted on a cloth when it was placed over the face of Jesus. This cloth, believed to have been sent to King Abgar of Edessa to cure him of leprosy, bears a striking similarity to the descriptions of the Shroud of Turin. If this is the case, then that would imply that Christ lived during the 12th century. There is another piece of evidence. In the book Astrology from 1826 by English physician and astrologer Ebenezer Sibley, there's a zodiac with a horoscope containing the date for the birth of Christ. In the center, we see there's an inscription detailing this. Through the use of astrological software, the date was calculated to be December 25th, 1151 AD. Those who follow the phantom time hypothesis are well aware that our history could have been displaced by 1,000 years. One of the most well-known examples of this is with the dating of documents. During the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries, dates were written differently than they are today. There were two forms of recording the name of the Savior: the letter I, the first letter of Jesus or Iesa, and the letter X, signifying Christ. So when writing 300 years after the birth of Christ, you would write I 300, the year 300 from Jesus. This was also done with the X. This can be seen on the engraving by Albrecht Dürer, with 1524 showing clearly an I with a dot between the 524. There is also an 18th century Russian naval chart that didn't even put the I or 1 at the beginning of the date. It simply says composed in 750, when the date is actually supposed to read 1750 in the context of the Scaligerian timeline. It seems that the Latin letter I began to be interpreted as 1,000, adding 1,000 years to human history. This may explain why we have a dark age in our historical timeline which defies all logic. Why are there so few medieval objects and structures preserved to this day? Yet there are far more ancient artifacts from before the time of Christ? It should be the other way around. Historians give us an explanation that is far more difficult to believe than the idea of manipulated timelines. They seriously tell us that after centuries of rapid progress, the ancient civilizations of Europe and Asia suddenly fell apart. All the scientific and cultural achievements of antiquity were forgotten, and for 1,000 years, people were in the darkness of ignorance. Somehow Latin turns into a crude primitive language, art disappears, coinage is abolished,
Right?
and in general, glimpses of intellectual
Damn.
work, especially in the early Middle Ages, are accidental and a single phenomenon. Then, allegedly only during the 15th and 16th centuries during the Renaissance did people suddenly remember all the discoveries of the ancients. Sounds suspicious, right?
Multiple tangos!
So
Now that we've
see,
covered the basics for an alternative date to the birth of Christ, we can begin to question these so-called ancient languages that permeate our timeline before the Dark Ages. Many are not aware that the Hebrew language, in fact, was created in the late 19th century. The Hebrew script did exist. However, the language itself died out somewhere between 100 and 200 AD of the mainstream timeline, according to historians. How could Hebrew as a language die out 200 years after the birth of Christ? So Jews, for most of modern history, weren't even speaking Hebrew. Are we to believe that they had these Hebrew Bibles and books, yet they couldn't even speak the language? It wasn't until the end of the 19th century that the Hebrew language, that hadn't been spoken in over 1,000 years, was revived by Eliezer ben Yehuda. Reportedly, Ben Yehuda had to invent hundreds of words in order to compile the first modern Hebrew dictionary. How did he do this? Well, apparently, according to him, he used Arabic to invent the Hebrew language. Quote, "In order to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic, and especially from Arabic roots." End quote. Wait, especially from Arabic roots? Quote, "Concerning Arabic, Ben Yehuda maintained that Arabic roots are ours, The roots of Arabic were once a part of the Hebrew language, lost, and now we found them again. End quote. According to Ben Yehuda, Arabic was literally Hebrew's sister language. Yet it would seem that modern Hebrew is derived from Arabic roots. There's even a photo of Ben Yehuda copying Arabic words from a dictionary and just changing them up slightly. Given what we know about the altered timeline and that a majority of prime sources before the 1500s have been conveniently destroyed, we could safely ask the question: did the Hebrew language ever even exist prior to Ben Yehuda's invention? The official narrative tells us that Hebrew existed 1,000 years before Christ in its earliest form, and gives us what they claim to be evidence of that in an artifact found in Jerusalem in 2008. It's called the Khirbet Qeiyafa Oshtakon, and to me, it looks nothing like the Hebrew script we know of today, and the one that existed in the Middle Ages. As you can see, this artifact that is supposed to suggest that ancient people spoke Hebrew seems more to be proof that they were using a Phoenician-inspired alphabet, which, if you've been following the channel for some time,
Phoenicians.
know is inspired
I
by
know
the
about the Phoenicians.
Ogham Ogham Gaelic alphabet of ancient Ibernia. They tell us that Hebrew and Arabic come from Aramaic, but let's consider this. Why didn't Ben Yehuda just use Aramaic? Also, some will say that Aramaic still exists today, but most Jews throughout history did not speak Aramaic. Only Arabic and a few
Help me, please.
variations of Aramaic survived into the modern day. However, Aramaic today has around
That's
500,000 speakers, whereas Arabic has 380 million speakers. Arabic also serves as the liturgical language of more than 1.9 billion Muslims. Aramaic is not even a single language. It has 150 different dialects, and none of them sound like the language of the Babylonian Talmud or the language spoken by Jesus. So what language were the Jews speaking after the Hebrew language supposedly died out? Quote, by around 800 CE, most Jews within the Islamic Empire, 90% of the world's Jews at that time, were native speakers of Arabic. End quote. Arabic began to be spoken in mainstream history at the same time as Aramaic. Yet within 1,000 years, despite it supposedly not having a written script until the creation of Islam, immediately became the main language of the Jews in the 8th century. The Jews in Spain, Portugal, and southern Italy all used Arabic and used it for nearly everything they wrote, even religious works. Synagogues also emulated mosque architecture. So we have a major problem. Are we really supposed to believe that the Old Testament and Talmud were originally written in Hebrew when no one could even speak it as a language?
That don't
As
make no
Ben
sense,
Yehuda
man.
puts it, quote, 60% of the root words of Hebrew are Arabic. The Jewish were speaking Arabic for 2,000 years. End quote. Imagine you were creating a new made-up language, and the majority of the root words from that language are English. Well, you essentially are speaking a dialect of English. It would make more sense that instead of Hebrew and Arabic being derived from Aramaic, it's actually the other way around. Scholars like to play games with different handwriting scripts, where Aramaic is simply a different dialect, yet is very similar to Arabic. Hebrew, throughout history, was more used for state documents and in law, being used more so as a literary language. The true source is not modern Arabic, but an older lost version of Arabic. This older root Arabic is the root of not only the Aramaic languages, but several other languages. What is this ancient form of Arabic, and where did it originate from? This primordial Arabic was partially erased during the Crusades, most notably those which occurred in what later became known as Constantinople. The original books of the Bible, pertaining to Iessa, or what could be termed the original pre-Vatican or Gnostic Christian books, were actually written in this older form of Arabic, not Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic. These pre-Christian books contain the knowledge and wisdom of the Ibernian Phoenicians, and were the foundational elements of the Church of Iessa, the true original Catholic Church that stemmed from Ireland, later to be categorized under the blanket term of paganism and then be snuffed out by St. Patrick, who was really the invented personification of the events that took place during the Crusades around 1300 AD, not 300 AD like the St. Patrick fiction suggests. To hide this truth, that these original books were written in this ancient Celtic Arabic language and make way for their new narrative, the Vatican assembled crusades to systematically locate and burn all existing remnants of the original church. And after the 15th century, most of these original primary sources were destroyed, including an incomprehensible amount of knowledge of our human history prior to the 1400s. Many are aware that the Crusades were the militant arm for the New World. The question is, who were they actually fighting? And what were they really determined to destroy? After this, these books and Bibles were replaced with the translations from the newly invented Latin, Hebrew, and Greek languages, simply derivations of this older form of Arabic. This may sound ridiculous to those hearing it for the first time, but
That's
there is a
crazy.
significant amount of proof to support these claims. Could it be that this
Exactly.
older Arabic is actually a European language? The modern languages are but Pig Latin, based on different mathematical codes deriving from one source language, variations with slight alterations for each language that come from a single language. Was the Tower of Babel in the Middle Ages? It's commonly accepted that the Romance languages evolved from Vulgar Latin, a version of Latin said to have been spoken by the common people of the Roman Empire. Yet, curiously, Latin ceased to be a spoken language by around the 7th century, according to mainstream historical timelines. Despite this, Latin remained the dominant written language in scholarly, religious, and administrative contexts well into the 18th century. This enduring use, spanning over a millennium without native speakers, raises significant questions about its practicality and the narrative we've been presented. Why would Latin persist as a lingua franca for academics and clergy if there were no native speakers for such an extended period? The explanation is that it facilitated communication across different linguistic regions and served ecclesiastical and academic purposes, which is overly complex and somewhat impractical. After all, managing a vast array of scholarly and religious works in a language that no one spoke natively seems not only cumbersome, but also inefficient. Could it be then that the sustained use of Latin was not merely for convenience, but a part of
shit
a more
wouldn't let me turn
deliberate
around.
strategy? Consider the possibility that Latin was maintained as a scholarly tool, not for the sake of tradition, but as a means for the Vatican to exert control over the dissemination of knowledge. By centralizing scholarly works in Latin, the Church could have effectively monopolized education and the interpretation of text, from scripture to scientific treatises. Latin, quite literally, is Pig Latin. Taking a look, it appears that Latin was artificially constructed by reversing the Etruscan script. The Etruscans wrote right to left, similar to Arabic, and the official narrative says that it was derived from the Greek alphabet. However, what if the Etruscans and early Greeks are the same people? It could be the same way that modern Hebrew was developed from Arabic, ancient Greek was also derived, and to complete the trifecta, Latin was created, becoming the 3 linguistic pillars of the Dark Age reset. From these 3 reset languages, all other modern languages were born, all within a span of 1,000 years. The ancient Greek literature, thought to be
Fucking
created in the
snipers, bro.
16th and 17th centuries, is derived from heavily edited translations of older text into a newly invented ancient Greek language. These edited versions then became known as ancient Greek primary sources. In contrast, the actual ancient Greek language is likely what is now referred to as the Middle Greek Byzantine language, which differs significantly from modern Greek, unlike the constructed ancient Greek that closely resembles it. Leonardo da Vinci was known to write backwards, but the mainstream story is that this was to write secret messages. What if there's something else going on? He seemed comfortable writing extensive notes from right to left, something that could only be achieved with a lot of practice. Or perhaps he grew up writing this way? They say that Spanish, as it is known today, was derived from Latin. However, how could this be the case if for the majority of Spain's history, it was an Arabic-speaking country during Al-Andalus? It wasn't until the 20th century that Castilian became the main language of Spain. All the Jews in Spain during the medieval period were speaking and writing in Arabic. In fact, Judeo-Spanish is known as Ladino, which is a Romance language derived from Old Spanish.
That's cool.
What is
didn't know that.
Ladino? Ladino is quite literally a mix between Spanish and Arabic. Soletreo is the cursive form of the Hebrew script and was used by the Sephardic Jews in Spain. This script is what was used to write Ladino. But this is what's crazy. Here's a postcard from Latin America where you can see Latin letters in handwriting form or cursive, and then we see this Ladino, which is basically Arabic. The Jews of Spain had been speaking Arabic for thousands of years. Historians will tell us that it's something completely different, but it's just Arabic. If you flip the image of the postcard with this Ladino, you can see that it's Latin reversed. It's just hard to tell because it's cursive. Cursive Latin
Reverse.
is Arabic in reverse.
That's crazy.
This could explain what Leonardo da Vinci was writing in his backward journals. Was his writing actually backwards? Or was it an Italian form of Soletreo? Most Jews spoke Arabic throughout history. However, it is well known that Jews also spoke Yiddish. But what is Yiddish? Yiddish is a German dialect with supposedly words from Hebrew. But how could that be if no one was speaking Hebrew before the 19th century? We know modern Hebrew was created from Arabic roots. Is there a connection between Yiddish and Arabic? Quote, in Jerusalem before 1948, it was common for Yiddish-speaking Jews and Arabs to understand each other's languages, particularly in neighborhoods where the two communities abutted each other. Among Jews, it was more often women engaged in business or neighborly relations with Arabs who learned Arabic, whereas men were more often secluded in yeshivas, engrossed in the study of Hebrew and Aramaic text. Arabic was taught alongside German in the modern Sephardic schools established after 1850, and while there were attempts to integrate Arabic into the Ashkenazic institutes of learning in order to provide graduates with practical job skills, these were usually resisted by religious authorities. Nevertheless, in the 19th century there were groups of Ashkenazic men in Jerusalem who learned Arabic, both spoken and literary." End quote. So we have first-hand accounts that Yiddish-speaking people and Arabic-speaking people could understand each other's languages, and that Yiddish-speaking Jews were encouraged to learn Arabic to obtain practical job skills. Or maybe they could understand each other because both languages share a common root. It seems that modern Hebrew is a mix between modern Arabic, ancient Arabic, High Germanic, and Slavic languages, and that the term Aramaic is a blanket term that is being used to conceal the true origins of the Hebrew language, as well to hide how the Hebrew alphabet was created only 1,000 years ago at the end of the Middle Ages, not 3,000 years ago as the official narrative states. But this phenomenon of newly invented languages doesn't just affect a few languages. It seems as if the majority of people were not speaking our modern languages up until a couple hundred years ago. Quote, until about 1800, Standard German was almost solely a written language. At this time, people in urban northern Germany, who spoke dialects very different from Standard German, learned it almost as a foreign language and tried to pronounce it as close to the spelling as possible. End quote. What's strange is why were most of these Romance languages essentially not even spoken by the locals until the 19th century? How could it be that in 1861, only 2.5% of Italy's population could speak Italian? If Italian replaced Latin during the Renaissance, and they have thousands of books being written in Italian, who are reading these books if no one is speaking Italian? Sicilian has many similarities with Arabic, Many of the words are derived from Arabic roots. There is even a distinct variety of Arabic that was spoken in Sicily for centuries called Sikala Arabic. Italy also has many Arabic city names. It wasn't until schooling became mandatory that the European populace were forced to learn these new languages that are supposedly derived from Latin. The same happened with France, where in 1789, 50% could not speak French at all, and only 12% spoke it fairly well. Apparently, by 1860s, only 20% could
Try to
speak
get out
modern
fast.
French. Most French speakers during this time are said to have spoken Occitan, not French. Occitan is another supposed Roman language allegedly derived from Latin. Occitan has several different dialects. For example, Catalan and Valencian. However, when we take a look at these compared to Arabic, we see a striking similarity. You can even see how some words and phrases are simply flipped and altered slightly. As stated before, these prototype dialects are often associated under the blanket term Latin Vulgar. Again, is this blanket term that is meant to associate these early European languages with Latin really hiding the fact that their common root was really this ancient Arabic? The question is, why would this need to be hidden to such a great extent? Could the knowledge that our languages come from an older form of Arabic be traced back to something much deeper? Mainstream history will say all of this Arabic influence is due to a myriad of Muslim invasions that spanned throughout the course of the Middle Ages. However, it becomes quite clear that the Occitan dialects are actually just dialects with alterations of Arabic. So what we have is that Spain was speaking Arabic, Germany was speaking Arabic, Italy was speaking Arabic, and France was speaking Arabic. These are the major European countries. Historians insist that the word Europe or Europa originates from Latin, and before that, from ancient Greek mythology. It's a common practice for historians to attribute many historical elements to myths. By doing so with Latin and Greek myths, they effectively obscure real historical narratives. These myths were mysteriously found after they went missing for 1,000 years. These myths were clearly invented by the people in power in order to hide and destroy the true history of the world. They wanted to show that religion copied from Latin and Greek myths. Europa, Europa, Irapa, Edaba, Edabi. The word Europa was clearly modified from Arapa or Araba. Europa, Arapa, Araba was the land of the Edabi, or the land of the teachers and rabbis, the land of the educated or enlightened, or the servants of God. Originally, a rabbi was simply a rabbi, Edabi, and this had nothing to do with race or modern religions. It was simply a title for those doing the work of Allah, who at the time did not represent the demiurgic, jealous God of the Abrahamic religions today. The original Allah more closely represented a universal oneness that inspired people to create amazing things and to live in harmony with the natural world. To be clear, this video is not a promotion of modern Islam. It's more so an investigation into a specific concept. That there was an ancient form of Arabic that was not a Middle Eastern Semitic language, but is actually a European language. It's the language of the Germans and Jews, what some historians have labeled as the Aryan race. This Arabic is not the same as modern Arabic, but most likely is an older lost form of Arabic that was a mix between Gaelic and Arabic. Supposed ancient Phoenician is simply early Irish Celtic. In the 18th century, historians discovered exciting proof of Phoenician Celtic ties. An ancient Roman dramatist, Titus Macius Plautus, wrote a play, The Penniless, in which he placed the current Phoenician into the speech of one of his characters. In the 18th century, linguists noticed the great similarity between that Phoenician and the early Irish Celtic language. Sir John says, quote, "The Celtic Cymry were for some time indifferently called Cambria or Cumbria. The Welsh word on which they are based being, as now written, Cymru, and is there pronounced nearly as an Englishman would treat it if spelled Cymru or Cymru. As students of Old Testament history will know, Cymru or Cymru was the name of the Israelites in Assyrian text. End quote. In 1847, the peak of the Irish potato famine, an Irish doctor in Istanbul asked Ottoman Sultan Abdul Majid I to send aid. He obliged, sending 3 ships of grain to Drogheda port, north of Dublin. The grateful city put the Turkish star and crescent on its
Damn.
crest, where it still
Almost,
remains.
man.
It appears too on the Drogheda United jerseys. Although Celtic languages and Semitic languages belong to separate language families, they share numerous typological similarities. The mainstream explanation for these similarities is that the ancestors of prehistoric Irishmen hailed from the area around contemporary Levant and migrated across the southern Mediterranean, making the modern-day Irish genetic cousins of ethnic Arabs from the Levant, or that the Phoenicians colonized Ireland in ancient times. However, what if the mainstream story, like much of this info,
Holy
is in
shit, bro.
reverse?
That's crazy.
That civilization actually migrated west to east, and not east to west as we've been told in the official narrative. There are many word similarities such as butterfly and sugar. The Ogham stone, a key to Ireland's earliest form of writing carved into upright stones, bears parallel inscriptions in Kufic Arabic and Egyptian hieroglyphics. If you compare Kufic Arabic to Irish Ogham, there's some similarities. It's just that Kufic has gaps in between the letters. However, they both have the straight and angular strokes. And if we look at this Phoenician script, it looks as if it could be the missing link between Ogham and Arabic type script. There is also Square Kufic, which is very bizarre. It basically looks like an ancient QR code. This is used in ornamental decoration and can actually be read. For example, look at the Square Kufic for Muhammad. If we read between the lines, we can actually see a swastika in the center. It's strange to consider that the same symbol used for the Aryans happens to be Muhammad in Square Kufic. There are also many similarities between Gaelic and Etruscan. Here's a list comparing the two. Some even believe that Etruscan may have sounded very similar to Gaelic. The Etruscans were the Irish. Quote, Monsieur Gebelin, who is called by Colonel Valency a great luminary of learning, says the Greek or Pelasgian before the time of Homer and Hesiod sprung from the Celtic, and from the same Celtic the Latin and Etruscan, all facts which I think cannot be disputed. From Godfrey Higgins. End quote. From Michael Tessarian, quote, Scholars have proven the Pelasgians, Etruscans, Dorians, and Phoenicians to have been one and the same people, or at least intimately connected. These races were of Irish ancestry. The only thing that makes them different from the Irish is their location. They were not, as fraudulent historians insinuate, from the east. They merely temporarily resided there. End quote. Quote, Dr. Clark has given a coin which he says is evidently Phoenician. On one side is an inscription in the Phoenician language, but in Etruscan characters, which proves the Phoenicians and Etruscans were the same people. Godfrey Higgins. End quote. The Irish sun god was known as Iesa, or Essa. Jesus is still referred to as Essa in the Quran, and was known by that name to both the Arabs and the Copts. In northern India, Iesa is remembered as Issa or Essa. From this word, we derive essence, essene, and esoteric, etc. Other versions of the name are Hesu, Isis, and Asar, that meant he who creates or brings the fire. Another interesting connection between Celtic and Arabic is the Celtic knot. This can be seen in art, architecture, and even scripts. These are known as endless knots, characterized by their looping, seamless lines that appear in a range of mediums. from the stonework of Celtic art and architecture to the ornate carvings of the Arabic mosque and even the detailed scrollwork in Chinese temples and manuscripts. This design, which is well known as an Irish symbol, can be found in several mosques in Turkey and in Spain. Likewise, the Chinese mystic knot, which also features an unending loop, parallels the Celtic knot in both form and function. We have covered the Chinese-Celtic connection in China unveiled. However, one interesting thing to notice is that the Manchu language bears a resemblance to Arabic. It is said to be derived from the Syriac alphabet. However, if we simply turn Manchu 90 degrees, it looks exactly like Arabic.
Sound like Halo.
We're clear. Move up to the next sector. Supply drop ready to go.
Interestingly, there are many Arabic artifacts that are found in Europe that are very out of place. Many of these are typically explained by historians as being a remnant of the Muslim
I
conquest.
thought I was sneaking up on the
The sheer
motherfucker.
amount of artifacts and the locations in which they're found contradict that explanation. Here's a fascinating artifact that doesn't have any logical explanation.
Damn.
It's a ring that was discovered in a Viking.
Hold on, let me pause it real quick for a second. Damn, that shit is freaking feedback. You try to fix this shit real quick. Give me a second. That shit start acting up. Yeah, my bad shit. I'm glad I muted that shit. That shit was about to be loud as hell.
Era grave in Sweden, and it has an Arabic
Yeah,
inscription that says,
crazy.
"To Allah." Why would the Vikings have a ring with Arabic? Why would they bury their dead with Arabic artifacts? They say that there was an
Roman
extensive trade
Empire
relationship
theory.
between them. However, it seems according to Arabic texts that they didn't like the Vikings at all. They have found thousands of Arabic coins in Sweden and Denmark, which come from the Viking era and found in
Oh.
burial sites. Quote, "More Islamic coins have been found in Sweden than in Afghanistan." End quote. How does that make any sense? Not only are these the most common ancient coins found in Europe, but also in Russia. These coins with Kufic inscriptions can be found everywhere, even in Ireland. Here is an 8th century cross with Arabic writing that says, "By the will of Allah," found in Ireland. Why would there be Arabic writing on a cross? A total of 173 gold and silver Islamic coins, minted before 1100 AD, are known to have been discovered in England, distributed among 9 hoards and about 70 single finds. They provide rare and tangible evidence of contact between Anglo-Saxon England and a far-off world known only vaguely to most of England's inhabitants through hearsay and pre-Islamic written accounts of the Orient. But the question is, were these coins and artifacts already there?
Crazy.
There are
man.
countless medieval swords with Arabic inscriptions. Here is an Italian medieval sword with an Arabic inscription dated 1453. These can also be found on German swords as well. Could you imagine digging up soldiers from the American Civil War and the weapons have Chinese inscriptions on them? Would be out of place,
What?
right? Historians have
That's
come up with
crazy.
an
He shot me
explanation
from
for
way
these
up there.
swords. That somehow these swords ended up in the city of Alexandria and then taken to the arsenal and decorated with Arabic lettering. This is odd because the lettering was most likely made during the forging of the swords on hot steel. Another strange occurrence are Arabic inscriptions on Russian armaments. Several Russian helmets are decorated with Arabic writing, even the royal ones. Here is the helmet of Ivan the Terrible, which reads, "Allah is the Great and Muhammad is his prophet." Apparently, even Russian was written using Arabic letters in the mid-17th century. Why does the coronation mantle of the Holy Roman Empire, a symbol of imperial authority and Christian kingship, bear inscriptions in Arabic? This striking detail stands out as a peculiar anomaly. The mantle, preserved to this day, carries no other writing, making the presence of Arabic even more baffling. There's also this famous statue of David in Italy that throws us down a new rabbit hole. Andrea del Verrocchio's bronze statue of David was made between 1473 and 1475 and was commissioned by the Medici family. But here's the mind-blowing part. Why is the future king of the Israelites wearing a leather tunic that includes Arabic? Now, historians have found a way to explain this, and it's called pseudo-Kufic.
Charlie Foxtrot, here we come.
Pseudo-Kufic, also known as Pseudo-Arabic, is a style of decoration used during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, consisting of what the scholars call imitations of the Arabic Kufic script, or sometimes Arabic cursive script, made in a non-Arabic context. Now, anytime a historian says pseudo, it immediately brings suspicion.
Pseudoscience.
Arabic writing on biblical
some bullshit.
characters during the Renaissance? When something doesn't fit the mainstream explanation, they just label it pseudo. This pseudo or imitation Arabic can be found on coins, fabrics, ceramics, architecture, but most bizarrely, quite often displayed in Renaissance art. What's fascinating is that they call it imitation, yet the scholars are willing to admit they have no clue on why they would even do this. Quote, "The exact reason for the incorporation of pseudo-Kufic or pseudo-Arabic in medieval or early Renaissance painting is unclear. It seems that Westerners mistakenly associated 13th to 14th century Middle Eastern scripts as being identical with the scripts current during Jesus' time, and thus found natural to represent early Christians in association with them." End quote. Oh, they were just mistaken. But if you read in between the lines, what they're saying is that literally the Renaissance
Holy
artists
shit,
believed
bro.
Arabic to be the language of Mary
crazy.
and Jesus. Let's take a look at some examples. What's fascinating is that many of you, especially artists, have already seen these paintings many times. The question is, why was this never brought up in art history class? We saw one earlier with the Adoration of the Magi by Gentile da Fabriano, where we see the Arabic on the Virgin's halo. Here's another painting by Gentile, where we can see it on the halo, the Virgin's cloak, and on the Christ Child's blanket. There are several by Gentile da Fabriano that include the supposed pseudo-Arabic, and they actually have another excuse for it. Quote, "Venice was among the early important centers of trade for Islamic goods in Europe, and in turn, traditional Islamic forms were highly desired by European patrons because of their association with exotic other of Jerusalem and the Holy Land." End quote. Okay, but why did they associate Arabic with Jerusalem? And how could they conclude this was the language used by biblical figures? Also, if this is really the answer, then why would they stop doing this out of nowhere in the early 16th century? It would seem there's more to this story. Either these artists were simply ignorant, or something's being kept hidden from us. Masaccio, 1426. The Virgin has Arabic text on her halo and robe. Giotto de Bondone, from 1320. One of the earliest paintings to feature the Kufic writing. The Virgin has her cloak decorated with Arabic. The halo features the endless knot. Giovanni dal Ponte, from 1425. Arabic writing can be seen on the clothing. Lorenzo de Nicolo. You can see the Kufic writing around the wrist area. Carlo Crivelli. Pintoricho. Fra Angelico. Ugolino de Nerio. Henry Bellachose. Paolo Veneziano. Andrea Mantegna. Petrus Christus has a painting with the Virgin and Child, and on the rug we can see the endless knot pattern. Interestingly, there's an entire explanation on why there's so many oriental rugs in Renaissance paintings.
Why are there? I should have stayed where I was at.
Duccio de Boninsegna. Simone Martini. Why are there so many examples? Were they all simply mistaken? How could such a mistake be so prevalent during the Renaissance? Is it truly imitation Arabic? Perhaps this is an older, more ancient form of Arabic that has been lost, yet the Renaissance artists were still in possession of the knowledge. This older version of Arabic was then twisted, reversed, and rotated in order to create new languages. An interesting example of this is the Alpha and Omega. In the Bible, we find that God is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Today, the modern Omega looks like a horseshoe, the last letter of the Greek alphabet. However, if we look for older versions, there's something very interesting to note. Older versions of the Chi-Rho use a W letter for Omega, which today is a lowercase omega. However, why would they be using the lowercase, especially in reference to God? Well, apparently they hadn't standardized the alphabet, so this was not lowercase. It was actually the original symbol they used for omega. In Rome, the Chi-Rho looked like this. In most of the oldest versions we can find, omega was depicted similar to a W. Now if you take this alpha and omega, placing alpha on top of the omega, you get the name for Allah in Arabic. It's just that there are different handwriting styles and different positions of the characters.
See me that whole time?
If you take the Om mantra, one of the most important symbols in Hinduism, which is said to represent the sound of the universe, and compare it to the name for Allah, well, it's all about perspective. Move the letters around, similar to Pig Latin, and you find that they're the same symbol. If we even go further with this concept, that these symbols are sigils that have been rearranged to create different versions, then let's go back to the Cairo. Do you notice anything peculiar? Let's look at some Roman coins of the Cairo. Notice how the loop for the P looks somewhat separated? The Cairo is the symbol for the more original universal religion, that at the time was using elements that became separated into two separate religions, Christianity and Islam. The crescent and the star, which became the crescent and the cross. Take the curve from the upper P and place it under the 6-pointed star, and you have the crescent and star. Today it's drawn with 5 points, but in the past it could be 6, and in some cases 8. This isn't that far-fetched, as Roman coins of the Roman Emperor Hadrian even had this symbol. In the epoch of the 12th to 16th centuries, the two well-known symbols of the crescent moon with a star and a Christian cross adjacent to a crescent moon effectively signified the same thing. Today, a crescent moon with a star is considered to be exclusively a symbol of Islam, of the Muslim faith, and a cross at the base of which there is a crescent is regarded purely as a Christian symbol. However, Christianity of the 12th to 16th centuries was one entity, and it was only at the end of the 16th century after the Crusades that a split began to appear, which led in the 17th century to the division of Christianity into several denominations:
That's a good
Orthodox
one.
Christianity, Islam, Catholicism, Judaism, Buddhism, etc. Now keep in mind, this is all according to the alternative timeline. A formerly united Christian symbol, a crescent moon and a star, equals cross. Possibly first symbolized the Star of Bethlehem, which lit up at Christ's birth in the year 1152, and also the solar eclipse associated with the crucifixion of Christ in year 1185. You may recall that during the solar eclipse, the sun initially turns into a half crescent. The crescent may also symbolize the moon, which blocks the sun. The star, cross, inscribed inside the crescent was depicted in various ways: 4-pointed, 5-pointed, 6-pointed, and 8-pointed. After the division of the churches in the 17th century, the symbol of the star cross has multiplied and gradually turned into its modern versions, including that of a crescent and a star, today 5-pointed, and also into a cross adjacent to the crescent. A 6-pointed star equals a 6-pointed cross, which has separated from the crescent began to be called the Star of David. So the Star of David, which today is considered exclusively to be a Judaic symbol, most likely symbolizes the Star of Bethlehem of the 12th century. There's also the fact that on the domes of many Russian churches and cathedrals, there are Christian crosses combined with the supposed Islamic crescent. This attracts a lot of attention. Historians and members of clergy are often asked the question, what does it mean? As today, a crescent is considered to be a symbol of Islam, distant from Christianity. So why then can a crescent be seen together with the cross? Usually the answer is as follows. Purportedly, in the epoch of the religious wars, Christianity in Europe defeated Islam. So they put an Ottoman crescent at the base of the Christian cross as a symbol of victory, so that people always remembered the triumph of the cross over the crescent. But such explanations are invented post factum and do not represent the facts. The true meaning we have made clear above, that there was once a unified religion. In some places in Russia, there have survived old depictions of a Christian cross and a crescent, where the crescent is not situated below, but in the very center of the cross, and even on top of the cross, above it. So it is completely impossible to say that here is depicted victory of the cross over the crescent. If we follow the logic of the historians, then we'll have the opposite. The crescent placed above the cross should have been symbolizing the victory of Islam over Christianity. But how could a symbol like that appear in the Christian Orthodox cathedrals? Ridiculous, preposterous, some may say. And it is quite a shocking statement. However, we aren't the only one to notice this connection. Look at this painting from Fra Angelico, where we see Christ with Alpha and Omegas drawn all over his robe. But if you look at his arm, there's pseudo-Kufic, associating the Alpha and Omega symbols with Arabic. This was painted in 1432. Could it be true that Islam and Christianity were once a unified religion, and that the people who were following this unified religion spoke this ancient form of Gaelic Arabic? There's much more we have to look into, and this next section might help to make things a little bit more clear.
Charges planted. Make sure they detonate. The enemy is destroying our explosives.
Did Jesus live during the medieval ages? We discussed this in the first chapter. However, let's take a closer look at some of his crucifixion paintings, as there are many strange things to be observed in these Renaissance paintings. According to the Bible, Jesus was crucified at a spot outside of Jerusalem called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. We're told that in ancient times there was a kingdom called Judah, and the capital of this kingdom was the city of Jerusalem. Historians and biblical scholars will have us believe that ancient Jewish Jerusalem and the modern Jerusalem today is the same city. The question is, how did the historians know for a fact where ancient Judah was located? Modern Jerusalem is believed to be a very sacred place by all Abrahamic religions. It is here, we are told, that the Temple of Solomon was built, where Jesus was crucified, and the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. There are many claims to genuine biblical history and artifacts in modern Jerusalem. However, there are some who have brought up some inconsistencies with the mainstream story. Tour guides report that there are both churches and houses of the Old City that were built much later than the events described in the Old and New Testaments. Plaques installed on some houses report that the house was built in the 14th century, and this one in the 15th century. Apparently the main shrine of Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, was built in fact in the 19th century, according to the mainstream narrative. Let's keep in mind that even the Edicule was said to be reconstructed completely in 1810, which also happens to have Islamic architectural features. This new construction replaced the earlier one, which was destroyed in the fire of 1808. Interestingly, 200 years ago, there really was no one in this area. There was only a small village of Al-Quds. It's a known fact that by the 1870s, there were only 14,000 people living in what is now the modern-day Jerusalem. In Christian tradition, the location of Jesus' crucifixion has been described as a mountain. Yet, there is no such mountain that matches the description in the Bible to be found in modern Jerusalem. And so, Golgotha has been assigned to a small hill outside the city. There are even claims that you can see the skull. However, sufficient evidence has not been provided to prove this is the exact location of Jesus' crucifixion. A famous archaeologist, George Wright, who had been excavating in the area, even admitted that most of his finds made here prove nothing. Still to this day, there isn't sufficient evidence to show that this is the exact location of Jerusalem. However, there have been forgeries. For example, the King Solomon's tablet of stone that was miraculously found in a pile of garbage near the Temple Mount. This is the first archaeological evidence ever found to support the claim that Solomon's temple was actually in modern Jerusalem. It has now been asserted that the artifact is a modern-day forgery. There is also an ossuary, or a stone box, in which allegedly the remains of Jesus Christ's brother, James, was buried. The ossuary was even on display at the Royal Ontario Museum. A few years later, it turned out that it was a fake.
They all fakes, man.
If this is the case, it begs the question, how many other fake biblical artifacts are kept in museums and private collections? It would seem that for the past 200 years, Archaeologists have not been able to find sufficient evidence to prove that the Kingdom of Judah is the location that they say it is in the modern day. Historians insist that this ancient kingdom was located here, but why? Let's look at what is said about Judah in the biblical book of Deuteronomy. Quote, "For the Lord thy God bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and
Damn.
hills, a
Marksman
land of wheat,
rifle.
and barley and vines, and fig trees, and pomegranates, a land of oil olive and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness, thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless the Lord thy God for the good land which he hath given thee." End quote. It seems that this description is very different from what can be seen today. The nature of ancient Judah is completely different from where they claim it to be now. The land today is a desert and very barren. It's difficult to imagine that there were wheat fields, vineyards with water and abundant rivers. If this was the case, then what happened? How did the blooming land turn into a scorched desert? Historians are well aware that in modern Jerusalem, there were never streams of water, springs, or lakes. The nearest water is miles away from the city. Why would they build a city where there is such scarcity of water? All ancient cities were built near water because they could use the flowing rivers as transportation routes. However, if we take a look at medieval paintings, they may provide us with more clues on this matter. These paintings depict Jerusalem located near a wide river or strait, high hills overgrown with greenery, and tall branch trees. This is not just one painting. You can find the same type of details in several paintings from the Middle Ages. It is quite clear that these artists did not depict Christ being crucified in the desert. Did they happen to know what the real Jerusalem looked like? Another interesting detail is that the people depicted near the cross are wearing warm clothing, which does not seem suitable for a desert climate. Why would they be wearing warm coats and fur hats? The historians insist that this is simply a fantasy, or that the medieval artists were just
I try to blow
imagining
'em
these
up.
details. Interestingly, in the medieval ages, educated people believed that Judea was in the very center of the world. There are many maps that put Jerusalem in the middle of the world. This can be seen in the Hans Rust map of 1480. So the question is, where did Jesus really live? Where was he crucified? It would seem the secret may be revealed in these medieval paintings. If you look through the Christ crucifixion paintings, you can find some very strange details. To begin, the majority of them feature medieval castle-like architecture in the background, some of which seem to be quite advanced for the time of the Bible. One could argue that these painters simply were imagining these details to portray Christ from their time period. But the next question would be why? That would be historically inaccurate, and these artists are known for being extremely detailed. The only logical conclusion is that this is what they actually believed during this time. In these paintings, we can see a wide river when no such river ever existed in modern-day Jerusalem. In many of them, we can see two main bodies of water. What's strange is that there are even medieval ships on the river. However, what becomes quite clear is that there is a similarity of architecture between multiple different artists, and one painting in particular stands out as being the most revealing. A painting by Gerard David in 1475 shows Jesus' crucifixion with a massive city in the background. If we take a closer look, some of these buildings in the background can actually be identified. This is Constantinople, or modern-day Istanbul. In the background, we can see the Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, and the Galata Tower. It seems to be quite clear that the artist was attempting to recreate these famous buildings in Istanbul. It would be understandable if these paintings were from Turkey and these artists were simply painting their environment, but that is not the case. There are many of these paintings, and they come from a variety of different artists from all corners in Europe. Here's another one. This painting is by John Provoost from the 15th century. You see Christ is being crucified, and even some men with turbans. What's interesting about this painting is that we see two massive domed buildings. But the shocking thing about this is that there are crescents at the very top of the buildings. Why would there be a building in Jerusalem with a crescent? The domed building to the left of Jesus looks very similar to the Hagia Sophia, and the dome building to the right looks like the Blue Mosque. What's fascinating is today in Istanbul, these structures still have the crescent on top. Some still may feel that this is not conclusive enough. However, there are many more interesting details to cover. For example, did you know that during medieval times, Constantinople was referred to as the New Jerusalem? Some even believed it to actually be Jerusalem during their time, that this was the place that Christ died and will return. It's not that far-fetched of an idea. Constantinople was the largest and richest city in Europe during the Middle Ages. It was known as the Second Rome and a part of the Byzantine Empire. They say it was a part of the Byzantine Empire, but the term for Byzantine was invented by a German historian named Hieronymus Wolff in 1557, and it wasn't until the 18th century that this term was popularized by French historians. So which is it? Is this the New Rome, New Jerusalem, or Constantinople? Also, now that we're considering that Jesus is from the Middle Ages, the Crusades take on a whole different meaning. If Jesus was really crucified 2,000 years ago, then why did it take 1,000 years for the Crusades to take place in order to avenge the crucifixion? Peter the Hermit suddenly begins telling people to go take revenge, and one day, everyone wants to go and get revenge for something that happened 1,000 years earlier? However, if the events of the Bible were unfolding in the late Middle Ages, between 1000 AD and 1300 AD, the Crusades begin to make a lot more sense chronologically. Another interesting point to make regards what happened in the Fourth and Final Crusade. So in the Fourth Crusade, the aim was to retake Jerusalem, but somehow a band of experienced soldiers ended up 1,000 kilometers from their objective and sacked a fellow Christian city. Well, the mainstream explanation is that the Crusaders, strapped for cash and unable to pay the Venetian fleet they had commissioned, were manipulated into diverting their mission to Constantinople. They were lured by promises of financial reward and political support from Alexius IV, who sought their help to reclaim his throne, offering to unify the Christian world under the Pope in return. However, this explanation raises several eyebrows. First, how could seasoned crusaders veer so drastically off course based on precarious promises? It strains credulity to believe that such experienced warriors would not foresee the immense logistical and political challenges or the stark betrayal of their original sacred mission. Secondly, the ease with which they abandoned their final holy objective to retake Jerusalem for a tangential adventure suggests a troubling opportunism, or at the very least, a profound strategic naivety. And finally, the decision to attack Constantinople, one of the greatest Christian cities of the time, not only contradicts the Crusaders' purported religious motives, but also inflicted a catastrophic blow to Christian unity, precisely the opposite of their supposed goal. It seems far more plausible to conclude that Constantinople is in fact the true Jerusalem, a truth that was obscured when history was deliberately rewritten both during and after the events of the Crusades. Following the sack of the city, crucial documents were burned, and historical narratives were meticulously crafted to hide this reality. Now it becomes quite conceivable to propose that the European painters of this era, having visited Constantinople, believed it to be Jerusalem. They were either capturing these architectural elements from memory, or working from descriptions of the place where Jesus was crucified. These descriptions, likely included domed buildings, blue roofs, minarets, and the Bosphorus River, features prominent in their artworks and suggestive of the city's revered status. There are countless others. Here's one by Jan van Eyck showing Jesus being pierced by the Holy Lance. Cornelius Engelbrecht, Crucifixion Altarpiece. In Jan van Scorel's Crucifixion, we see a similar domed structure with blue tops. Wolf Huber, Allegory of Salvation. The domed building has Islamic architectural elements.
The enemy has disarmed our explosives.
The Crucifixion, Jacopo Tintoretto. Men wearing turbans and a domed building in the background with a blue roof. Even old manuscripts show medieval castles behind the Crucifixion. The Crucifixion from 1501, Giovanni Bellini, features minarets and Islamic architecture. Here, we have an ancient miniature allegedly dated to 1470 from John de Courcy's Global Chronicle. We see Jerusalem pillaged by the Syrian king Antiochus Epiphanes. Jerusalem is pictured as a medieval Gothic town. We see an Ottoman crescent on the spire of one of the towers. In another miniature, allegedly dated to 1470, we see the extremely ancient King Nimrod in the ancient Babylon, which is depicted as a Gothic medieval town with elements of Muslim architecture. Let us delve into the intriguing mysteries surrounding the Hagia Sophia. A new theory emerges that challenges the long-held belief
We
that this
couldn't get
architectural masterpiece
Ain't
was
nothing we
built
can
in the
do.
6th century under Emperor Justinian I. Instead, some suggest that its construction might date to the 16th century under the rule of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. This theory proposes that the grand structure we see today could have been one of the first major construction projects of the Ottoman era, rather than a relic of the Byzantine past. Firstly, the timing of its supposed construction aligns more closely with the architectural ambitions and capabilities of the 16th century rather than those of an earlier period. This is supported by accounts of significant structural issues that suddenly appeared in the mid-16th century, which would be unusual for a building supposed to have stood unscathed for nearly 1,000 years prior. Sultan Suleiman himself is said to have initiated its construction around 1550, a claim bolstered by legends of the Shah of Persia offering precious stones to aid the lavish decorations, which Suleiman allegedly declined due to the already immense value of the project. There are some comparisons to be made between Solomon's temple from the Bible and the Hagia Sophia, which features rich decorations and strategic architectural similarities with the description of Solomon's temple, which leads to speculations that this might not be just a mosque or a museum, but actually the ancient temple itself. The traditional accounts of two distinct structures, the Lesser and the Greater Hagia Sophia, mirror the biblical narrative of the first and second temples in Jerusalem. Is the Hagia Sophia really Solomon's temple? Traditionally, Hagia Sophia is considered a masterpiece of Byzantine architecture. When Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, this pivotal Christian basilica was converted into a mosque. Yet, it's possible that the Hagia Sophia may not have been built until the 16th century, aligning with the era of the Ottomans rather than the Byzantines. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent could have initiated the construction of the Hagia Sophia around 1550 to 1557, marking it as one of the first
go
ventures
past these
into a
motherfuckers,
large-scale
bro.
temple building in what was then Constantinople. During this time, the Hagia Sophia reportedly had structural issues, which Sultan Selim II had to address around 1573 by reinforcing the wall. It makes more sense that if the Hagia Sophia was indeed constructed in the mid-16th century, the rapid onset of structural issues soon after its completion would make more sense than if it had stood unproblematically for nearly 1,000 years since the 6th century. So is Suleiman actually Solomon? Did Suleiman construct the magnificent Hagia Sophia
got
in the
41
16th
kills.
century, originally as a Christian cathedral featuring an altar with a crest? Could it be that the crescent moon and star
41
motif
still.
were emblematic of the original Christianity? The Byzantium narrative surrounding the Hagia Sophia might actually be a cover story to explain why the Hagia Sophia contained both Islamic and Christian symbolism. There's this Van Eyck painting called the Annunciation, which is an extremely detailed painting. If you zoom into the floor tiles, there's actually an interesting depiction that can confirm this. We see David in a medieval setting slaying Goliath, and the Israelites have a shield with the moon and crescent. Why would the Israelites be
crazy.
using this as a crest?
Look at that.
The stories that once highlighted the Christian origins of the Great Sophia were meticulously shifted to support the newly constructed mosque, thereby anchoring it firmly in the 16th century and pushing the Great Sophia back to the 6th century in public consciousness. To resolve any contradictions arising from this historical shift, legends were crafted, such as the tale of a Greek stonemason executed for secretly incorporating a cross in his work, blending myth with historical revisionism to solidify the mosque's Islamic identity.
Damn, bro, this shit crazy. We can't get past these people. Nothing we can do about it. They locked in over there, shit.
At this point, it's clear that history isn't just about what facts we are told to regurgitate from old textbooks. It's really more about how we interpret those facts by understanding who's telling us these stories. This video was inspired by the work of Anatoly Fomenko and David Ewing Jr., who both have far more knowledge on these subjects, but this isn't here to give all the answers. Rather, to make us all think and question what we've always been told about our past. Throughout this video, we've seen some pretty weird things, like Renaissance paintings that show biblical scenes looking like they happened just a few centuries ago, or the strange Arabic script on these holy figures from the Bible. These oddities suggest that maybe the history we're being told is a fiction. For example, the artworks from the Middle Ages that show
These
us lush and
motherfuckers going
vibrant
crazy,
places,
bro.
representing biblical locations that look nothing like we see in the dry desert where these events supposedly took place. Instead, we see medieval architecture that resembles cities in Europe. And then there's these reset languages, how Hebrew made a sudden comeback in the 19th century, or how Latin seems to have been invented in the last 1,000 years by reversing an early form of Arabic, and how it was conveniently turned into this scholarly language that no one really spoke but somehow dominated all of academia and clerical fields. It's a bit suspicious, isn't it? If anything, it hints that much of what we call ancient history might have been written much later, closer to the Middle Ages. These insights shake up the whole timeline that we take for granted, from when Christ was born to when and how Latin was created. Was Christ really speaking Arabic? There might be more to this story than we realize. Could the language he spoke be lost ancient Celtic Arabic from a forgotten world church or empire? Perhaps what we now refer to as Tartaria. This ancient church might have been a blend of Christianity and Islam, with all modern Abrahamic religions being derivatives, crafted as state religions after a significant historical reset. This would suggest that languages were engineered as psychological operations from this original global language, using techniques like mirroring and rotating to derive our current Romance languages from that ancient source. This could explain the prevalence of Arabic artifacts found throughout Europe, suggesting that Arabic might actually be a European language. If Constantinople is indeed the real Jerusalem, then it would follow that Jesus lived in Europe and spoke Arabic, which challenges our traditional geographical, chronological, and cultural understanding of historical events. We've laid out a lot of things to think about, but this is really just a starting point. The goal is to get people more curious and to think differently about our past. History is far stranger than we're led to believe, and it's not just about learning facts, but about understanding the stories behind those facts. Let's keep the conversation going and keep our minds open to all the possibilities, even the ones that may seem a little out there. thank you for watching, and all we can hope is that our minds may be unveiled.
Holy
Let
shit.
go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind and ask
I
the
fell down
question,
there.
do I truly
Got my ass cooked, man. No Diddy. This game been going on for a while.
Grenade outgoing! One out!
He was on the rock. I got 45 kills. That dude got 90 something kills, bro.
Grenade out! Reload!
Damn. They tried to get me. Well, they actually got me. I wonder why they're giving us overtime like right now. This shit's crazy. Damn, where did he go? My bad.
Need a second to reload! Grenade for him!
I might try to creep around the corner. Yeah, it's going down like crazy right now. When is this round gonna be over? 51 kills. I think it's about to be over now. The music sounds like it's about to be over. It's bigger than music. This shit must be broke. At least I got one before I went. Yeah, man. I don't know what's up with this shit, but I'ma holler at y'all later, man. I got some other shit I gotta do. Peace.